The NFL season is here, and it is now time to run through each division, each conference, each team, and figure out how they are going to do. Let's dive right in and start with the AFC East. The Buffalo Bills are at the top. Their total sits at 11.5. I think this team goes over that. This is a very, very good football team. Obviously, they have figured out what their identity is, running the football, hammering the ball down teams' throats with a pretty strong defense on the back end to help out with that. I do worry about the coaching concerns there. They do seem to run this team as if they don't have one of the best quarterbacks in the world at the quarterback spot in Josh Allen, and seem to run it a little bit like, okay, let's ease into it a little bit and figure out how we can do that instead of, hey, we have one of the best quarterbacks alive, so let's just roll it with him and see where we can get to. But this is still a team that is so clearly the best in this division. And we talked about it earlier on overrated, underrated, breakout stars and all of that. I think they have a couple of guys who are ready to break out this year. I think that Dalton Kincaid is kind of being brushed with a bit of a bust, pick or bust brush, so to speak. But I do think that he still has a lot that he can offer. And I think people forget that Keon Coleman is now a second-year receiver in the National Football League. So those guys have time to progress and time to grow. And I think they're going to do just that. So I like the thought of these guys going over the total. This one has got a lot of attention on some of the other videos on YouTube, and I would imagine that will continue here as up next, we are going to look at the New York Football Jets. The New York Jets come into this one with a win total of 5.5. I think this is an easy over for me. I think that this team is set up very well. And I've talked about it before. In underrated teams, underrated players, all these different things. We were all talking last year about how good this roster is and how dynamic this roster is. And all Aaron Rodgers needs to do is come in and basically just not screw it up and everything will be fine. Well, that obviously didn't happen. But I think people are forgetting how bad Aaron Rodgers really was as a quarterback a season ago. And so I think now with Justin Fields, who, yes, maybe it is not ideal, but I still think that he has enough talent that he can get the ball to some pretty good playmakers on this team and take advantage of what is a pretty strong defense on this team as well. I just think people are forgetting how excited we were about the Jets, or how excited some people were. I was not in there, but how excited some people were about the Jets a season ago and how little we thought the quarterback needed to do and how bad that quarterback was last year. I just think we're overlooking a lot of those things. So Justin Fields doesn't have to be an MVP. But I just think he just has to be good enough, get the ball to some pretty good players all the way around. We have Sutern in the chat over on kick.com/primetimepk. He's saying, talking about the Bill Simmons and Cousin Sal podcast. Yes, they were kind of the originators of this. I've been doing it for a while on radio and now here in podcast form. I think this is the third or fourth year that we've been doing this. So yes, no, they certainly are the originators of this one. But there's a lot of people talking about them, so to speak. Or talking about that, I guess. But Sutern also saying, you trust in Fields? Bad. I give them 4 wins. Look, he could be just dreadful, right? Like, there is more evidence of him not being good than there is evidence of him being good. But remember, the Pittsburgh Steelers were winning football games when he was under center. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't great, and Russell Wilson was an upgrade over that. But they were still winning games, and that's all I need them to do here is win football games. And I think that they will be perfectly fine. So I like this team going over 5.5. Couple other bets that I think you can look at. One of the reasons I think this team will be good is a significant improvement at the coaching spot. And so with that, Aaron Glenn as coach of the year is plus 900. And I also have the Jets making the playoffs at plus 400. And I think if one of those happens, both of them will happen, you know? So I think Aaron Glenn establishing this new culture, getting the most out of this team, is going to be able to lead them to the promised land and get them to at least the postseason. So I like them quite a bit. And I understand Sutern saying Fields can't throw through giant windows in front of your house from 20 yards away. I understand, like, I feel like I'm saying I understand a lot. The issue that Fields has had at times is certainly an accuracy one. We know this. I think the offense knows it as well. All the coordinators out there in New York. It's not, oh, no, you know what he can do? Just pinpoint that thing down the field. I think you are going to see a lot of utilizing the talents that he has in being a very good runner, in being able to kind of like RPO this thing, and some quick passes. Just get the ball in Garrett Wilson's hands. Get the ball to Breece Hall and to Braylon Allen. Get the ball to your playmakers and create some opportunities. So I do feel like this is going to be a team that is going to surprise some people. Absolutely. So yes, I have the New York Jets over 5.5, making the playoffs and getting their coach a Coach of the Year nod. The New England Patriots are up next. Their total is at 8.5. And now this one, I'm going over on it as well, just slightly. This is one where I feel like Vegas kind of has it right. I think they will be around a 500 football team. They have obviously made some improvements. Bringing in Stephon Diggs will help, and Drake May in another year progression will be good, and the kid they drafted on the offensive line feels like that's the move to make. Plus, you upgrade at coach with Mike Vrabel, and you still have some strong pieces on the defense. So I think there are going to be obviously some improvements here. I will just say, one rookie I don't think is going to fix the offensive line. And I think we are kind of whistling past the graveyard a little bit with Stephon Diggs as a wide receiver. I think that there is a lot of remembering what he could be and not remembering what he has been in the last little bit. When the Buffalo Bills stopped throwing him the football, they started winning football games. It's that simple. So I don't think there is a really strong playoff possibility for this team. I think the defense is good. I think the offensive line is fine. I think the quarterback is good, and I think the weapons that he has to work with aren't very good. So I think people are kind of overshooting this a little bit, but I do still think this will be a team that is around 500. So maybe not the most exciting year, and I think they're kind of a year away from being a year away, but I still have the New England Patriots coming in at 8.5 wins. The Miami Dolphins are the last place team in this division, according to me. I have them going significantly under in their win total, which Vegas sits at 8.5. I don't like this team at all. I was in on them a couple of years ago with Tua, and everyone saying, oh, well, he's one hit away from being hurt and then everything gets thrown off, which is fair, but that was every quarterback, right? Like, that's every player in football. It's football. So I wasn't necessarily buying in on that, but I do think that this is a flawed roster. I think that given the injury issues he has had, they play call as if they are scared of him, basically. And they do not want him holding the ball for more than 2 or 3 seconds at a time. And it's just get the ball out, get the ball out, get the ball out. And they have not, look, if you want to play that style of offense, having a very good speed team helps, because it's just quick, get the ball out, and then they can do their speed thing and working their way upfield. But teams caught on to it very quickly last year. I think they will catch on to it again very quickly this year, and I think there will be some major problems for this offense in trying to really come up with big plays and trying to bust a couple of those on the quick passing game. So I just feel like there are some very big flaws to this team. I think Mike McDaniels, we've talked about it before, is a candidate for being first coach fired. He's on the hot seat this season. He was an offensive genius a couple of years ago, and now just isn't, based on teams figuring them out and everything like that. The one thing that concerns me about this pick of going under 8.5 on the Dolphins is I do think with Bradley Chubb coming back on the defensive side and a couple of moves that they have made, I do worry that there is at least a possibility that this defense keeps them in quite a few games. But I think that they are clearly the last place team in this division, and there is a world where they are competing for the number 1 overall draft pick in the National Football League next season. So I do have some very big concerns about this Miami team. Sutern on the kick chat is worried about them as well, saying, okay, Dolphins are so bad. The wide receivers are fast, yes, but they have no time to throw it downfield. He might end up being better with this line. Sorry, they were talking about, I think talking about Drake May, comparing it to Tua, but I mean, I wonder if they are looking at potentially drafting another guy and trying to get that going. But it's a bad team. It's a really, really bad football team. And Suterran certainly doesn't believe that they are going to make much noise either. So again, to recap, in the AFC East, I have the Bills going over 11.5, the Jets going over 5.5, and the Patriots going over 8.5, with the Miami Dolphins hitting the under in this one and getting beaten up quite a bit. I have them going under 8.5 wins. Now let's go to the AFC North, one of the pride divisions of the NFL for a while. And we begin with one of the premier franchises in the league at this time, the Baltimore Ravens. I have them at 11.5 wins, or Vegas, has them at 11.5 wins. I have them going over. I think this is just a fantastically built football team. With Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, that duo was excellent a season ago. I like the pass catchers that they have. Don't love them, but I like them. With Zay Flowers, I think Bateman has a little bit more in him than people think, but still not a ton. But then the two tight ends, you like them a lot. I do feel like another year with Monken at the head of this and figuring how they are going to put this all together. I think that will figure it out, help them kind of figure things out as well. And then defensively, they have one of the best defensive players in the sport in Kyle Hamilton. They are continuously kind of tweaking at a number of different positions. The defensive backs had some issues a season ago. That was a problem for them, but they have a very good pass rush. This is just a very well-built football team, and I think they are miles ahead of everything else on this or in this division at this point. So I feel like the Baltimore Ravens really cruise to a division title here, and I have them going over 11.5 wins on the season. The Pittsburgh Steelers are up next. They are at 8.5. I'm hitting the under on this one as well. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback. I don't think in 2025 Aaron Rodgers is a winning quarterback. I feel like there are some major problems there, and it's great. Everyone's saying all the right stuff in the preseason, but everyone was saying all these same things 1 year ago out in New York, and it is all over the place. So I just feel like there is a big problem about to happen with the Steelers. And then you look at everything else going on. Like, I like the running backs they have. I think DK Metcalf is fine. I actually think he's really good. I think there has been a little bit overrating some of the decline of DK, but I don't think there's a lot after that in the pass game. I think the offensive line is good. Defensively, they obviously have some studs, right? Like, we loved the Patrick Queen move a year ago. Highsmith, I think, is one of the more underrated players on the defensive side. TJ Watt is a game breaker, but they do have quite a few holes. And they were able to piece it all together last year, but I think of the three quarterbacks that they have used in the last 2 years, Fields, Wilson, and Rodgers, I think Rodgers is third. And I think it's by a considerable margin. So I just don't think that this is a team that is set up to compete in this division with the top team, nor do I think they are set up to compete in the AFC. So I have them going under 8.5 wins. All right, Suterran in the chat again. Aaron Rodgers could be a great quarterback for the Steelers, but their offense has no weapons. Even if Rodgers is great, they are 8-9. So there is a bit of that. Like, I think Metcalf is good. I like Warren quite a bit, and Caleb Johnson people are pretty high on. But in terms of other weapons in the pass game, there isn't a whole lot there, so that is fair. I just think they are good, not great at a lot of spots, and not good enough at a few too many others, which is why I have the Pittsburgh Steelers coming in at under 8.5 wins. The Cincinnati Bengals, their total is at 9.5. I'm going under on the Bengals. I said last year, or I've said because of last year, when you look at, it's weird to say everything went right because it obviously didn't. The defense was atrocious and the offensive line was quite bad. But they were able to stay in games because Joe Burrow had a historically amazing season. I feel like banking on that 2 years in a row is just a little iffy for me. I don't think they did nearly enough to improve on the defensive side. I don't think they did a damn thing to improve on the offensive line. And so you are worried, or you are banking on your quarterback being absolute superhero, even like playing at 110% of his high level elite capacity. And I just feel like banking on that 2 years in a row is too much to ask of that quarterback, given the situation that they are in and everything like that. So I'm out when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals. That is a nice hard under for me at 9.5. Also, I have them to miss the playoffs at plus 105 is another one. We got Crash bringing a raid in. So thank you very much, Crash. Hello. Thank you, Crash, a new member of the Vampire League that we are doing here with Twitch followers. We had the draft last night. Toxic was watching the CFL game. Crash was there as well. Obviously went very well for the Stampeders. So now we'll be doing updates on the Vampire League throughout. But happy to see Crash hanging out here once again today. So yes, my last one there, Bengals coming in at under 9.5. Last one here, the Cleveland Browns are at 4.5 wins. I have them under. I think their schedule is nuts. I think they have a bad roster. And they play in, while I have gone under on a couple of teams, they do play in a pretty tough conference, or a pretty tough division. So there are some issues here for the Cleveland Browns. I have them going under 4.5. I think the quarterback situation is going to be absolutely brutal. Someone trying to call me. I think the quarterback situation is absolutely brutal. With Flacco, Shedeur Sanders, I don't get the preseason whoa about Shedeur. Everything that we said about him at draft time and all of it is that he is not ready to be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. Could he get there? Yes, absolutely. I still think he has the tools that he can be a starting quarterback in the NFL and a solid, effective quarterback at the National Football League level. But he was never going to be that as a day one starter. He was always going to have to redshirt for one season. And so did he have flaws in the preseason? Of course he did. He was supposed to. We knew that already. I don't understand why people are freaking out about it. But aside from the quarterback drama that is going on there, Jerome Ford is a fine running back, but not great. You have some off-field issues with the kid that they drafted. The receiver room sucks. Like, Jerry Jeudy is not good, and he's the best they have. David Njoku, solid tight end. Offensive line, not worth a damn. That's a problem. Defensively, you have Myles Garrett, but I think we saw last year that this defense isn't as good as everyone thought they were. So this is it's a bad roster. It's a bad football team. They could have the worst record in the NFL. And it's just all is coming together for it to go not very good out there with the Cleveland Browns. Crash in the chat. I almost grabbed a player on waivers, but saw your note, or tried to. Yes, no, I appreciate that. Have to get that whole situation figured out here today. Forgot to click a couple buttons, so and then it wouldn't let me do it on my phone while we were driving back from Saskatchewan for Labor Day weekend. So have to do adjust that today. But the Vampire League, very excited to get that going here once again this season. Sutern talking about the Cleveland Browns over on the Kick Chat. Browns, they need to be bad, get a new quarterback. They draft, get good, develop, do those things. So no, I completely agree that there are some problems in Cleveland, and they should be able to draft a pretty good quarterback. This is a pretty good quarterback draft class. So good signs there for them, I suppose. Deeds. Hello, Deeds. He's chatting over on the YouTube side of things today. So hello to Deeds, and hello to everyone hanging out and watching us here today. While you're watching this, if you could share the word of Couch Potato Diary, hit that share button and let people know that there's some pretty good sports talk happening over here. And on the video game side, we have a lot of fun as well. That's going to ramp up again this week as well. Let's now move into the AFC South. Pretty rough division, to be perfectly honest with you. The AFC South, we will begin with the Houston Texans. Their total is at 9.5. I have them going over 9.5, based on the division that they play in. They, honestly, 5 or 6 wins should be enough, or should be what they get in this division, and then just a couple others along the way. I still have concerns about the offensive line, and I don't think they addressed the receiver room in the way that they needed to. Nico Collins is a beast and a legitimate number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. CJ Stroud is a very talented quarterback. I think anyone doubting that and putting last year on him is not recognizing what is happening here. The offensive line is an issue, and I don't think they have enough weapons around him. The running back situation is weird, with Mixon maybe being out for the season, and now they have Chubb and Pierce, so we'll see what happens there. But this is a good football team, but it's not a great football team. I think this is a really good defense that is very well coached as well, and that's going to be enough in this division to be able to get by. So I like Houston, and I like them to go over 9.5 wins for the upcoming season. The Jacksonville Jaguars are up next. Their total is at 7.5. I have them going under 7.5 wins. Again, I just don't think this is a good team. I think they're in transition at the running back position with Bigsby taking over for ETN. Trevor Lawrence has been given every opportunity, although admittedly not a ton of great weapons around him. But that is changing with Brian Thomas Jr. and now with Travis Hunter. I think this is going to be an exciting team to watch. I don't think the offensive line is good enough. And defensively, they have some great players. They are boom or bust, I will say. They have some really, really, really high-level guys on the defensive side, and they have some really, really, really low-level guys on the defensive side. So that it's too much fluctuation for me. I understand Liam Cohen probably gets the most out of this offense, but I have problems with how this team is built, and I don't think that a new coach and a new coordinator is going to be enough to get them there. Toxic saying no leg on YouTube, so that's good. Apparently might be dealing with some issues on the Twitch side, so apologies for that. Hopefully it kind of sorts itself out. But yes, Jacksonville Jaguars coming in at over 7.5. Now, the Tennessee Titans, they're at 5.5. I have them going over that. I feel like last year, a lot of the problems this team had was Will Levis specifically throwing games away. Like, you look at the number of times he specifically had a back-breaking, devastating, game-altering mistake late that cost them wins. It was actually a few. And then you start to get guys disinterested, and it really spirals from there. So I think the coach is under some pressure this year to keep the guys motivated. But now you got a new guy in Cam Ward, the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. I like some of the options that they have to throw to, with Calvin Ridley being a guy. Thank you, Sutern. No leg on the kick side, so that's good. But to look at Ridley as kind of a number 1, I like Okonkwo a lot as a tight end, and Pollard is a solid running back there. They have Ao Manor as well. I'm probably saying that wrong, but they have some guys on offense, and they really invested on the offensive line over the last couple of drafts. So the offensive line right now, it doesn't look amazing, but there is at least some room for improvement there. And I think there could be actually some steps forward taken by a few of the guys on the offensive line for the upcoming season. So I think that there is some good signs on offense, and then defensively, they just have some solid guys all over the place. And I don't think they're going to win a ton of games because of their defense, but I think when you look at how this team stacks up against Jacksonville, against Indianapolis, I do like how they kind of line up against those teams. So that is why I'm liking it. I am going over on the Tennessee Titans for the 2025 NFL season. Now, the Indianapolis Colts are up next, and they are under 7.5 for me. They probably made the right decision going Daniel Jones over Anthony Richardson. That is probably, when you're looking at those two guys, I feel like that is a very solid move to make. That being said, doesn't make you a good football team. We've seen that, right? And while I do like the overall weapons more with the Colts than I do with the New York Giants. You think of the last couple of seasons, yes, they got to the playoffs a couple of years ago, but then he wasn't able to get elite level offenses with Saquon Barkley, nor last year with Malik Neighbors. And so I like Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor, who again, I like. I don't necessarily think that that is going to be, that Daniel Jones is going to be the one to guide them. And those are going to be the guys who can lead this to the promised land or anything like that. There are some problems here with Indianapolis. It starts at quarterback. The offensive line, I don't have a ton of faith in either. And defensively, this is a bad team. This is a bad football team on the defensive side. They got burned a ton last year. Now, I will say, when we talked about potential breakout guys, Latu coming in on the defensive line into his second year, I feel like there is, again, a couple of game breakers there and a lot of talent in that particular human being as a pass rush and a game wrecker on the defensive side. But I do think that the rest of the unit, not awesome. The one thing I will say is that they were very predictable on defense a year ago, and I feel like that was very hurtful to a lot of the players there, and maybe my perception of them. I still think they need to make some improvements on defense, but I do think a new scheme is going to help things out immensely in Indianapolis. I just don't think they're going to be that great against some of these other teams. So I have the Colts under 7.5 for this upcoming season, putting them last in the division. Our last division is the AFC West. Up first, we have, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. Everyone expecting them to just fall off a cliff. They are at 11.5 for the win total. I still think over. I understand they were absurdly lucky in 1-point games, or in one-score games, a season ago. But I feel like, and we have talked about this a lot, at some point, Rashee Rice is going to come back as the wide receiver for this team. And at some point, I think as Isaiah Pacheco is going to break through. I feel like a lot of people are kind of forgetting how good Rice can be because of injury issues and everything from last season. There is a number one receiver there. And Pacheco, it didn't look great when he came back from injury, but a full training camp going into this year, I really believe there's a very good running back in there. And so I think this offense is just going to be a bit more dynamic, and everyone's going to fit into their spots just a little bit better as we get late into the season. So maybe they won't win as many one-score games this year, but I also don't think they'll be in as many one-score games. And then you look on the defensive side, and it's elite. Coaching, elite. They just have so much talent all over there. So I have to go 11.5. And while these aren't my official picks, I think Kansas City at plus 800 for the Super Bowl is awesome. And I think Mahomes at plus 650 for MVP, these are better odds than you're ever going to get on Kansas City. So if you think that they are just better than everyone, or the NFL just wants them to win, either way, there's an option there for those guys for sure. Up next is the Denver Broncos. They are at 9.5 wins. I like how this team is built. I know that I was down on them last year. I still think the thought process of drafting Bo Nix was a little bit flawed, but it fit. Defensively, this team is awesome. They have so many weapons around this young quarterback, and you have a good coach in guiding everything there. So I will just admit from last year, I was just wrong on those guys. Sean Payton still has his fastball, and he's figured it out with Bo Nix. The one thing I would caution is I do think Bo Nix is a pretty finished product at this point. So there is any assumption that he's going to take another step, I think would be a little unfounded. But they have some pretty good options around him, and that is going to give him enough to get this offense there. And then the defense is insane. And they're going to get Alex Singleton back, who missed all of last season with an injury. And the guy's just a tackle machine, reads the field so effectively, coming from the Canadian Football League. He is just a dude. So there's a lot to really, really like about where Denver is at. On the defensive side, offensively, they're great. This is a really, really high caliber roster. And so because of that, I have them at over 9.5 wins for this season. The Los Angeles Chargers are next at 9.5 wins. I've gone back and forth in them. I feel like this is a 9-win football team. So I just have to go under slightly. I know they had a very good replacement in Joe Alt on the left tackle with Slater going out with the injury. But it's still not great when you have one of the best offensive linemen in the league just go down with an injury. I also think that there is a bit of an assumption that, well, this coaching staff just knows defense, so they're going to get the most out of these guys. You look at the defensive roster, they actually lost a few pieces. This is a sum of the parts defense more than it is a lot of Jimmys and Joes on that team. They have, I think, a few more holes than people give them credit for on the defensive side. And so I just think against Knicks, against Mahomes, against, who we haven't talked about yet, but against Geno Smith and the Raiders, I worry that that defense is going to give up more than this offense is capable of countering with. I love Justin Herbert as a quarterback. I really like the kid they drafted, Hampton, as a running back, and Ladd McConkey is a really strong wide receiving option. But then, like, tight end, bringing in Keenan Allen, it's fun, but whatever. I feel like this is a 9-win team. I think that maybe a couple of upgrades on defense can help, and maybe a breakthrough or two on the offensive side helps as well, but I just don't view them in that same tier as Denver or Kansas City, so I have them under 9.5 this year. Lastly, the Vegas Raiders, their total is at 6.5. Last year was brutal, obviously, with Antonio Pierce, Aiden O'Connell as the quarterback coaching duo. It does not get much worse than that. And so to upgrade it with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith is very strong. This is going to be a better football team. I just don't know if those results are going to show up necessarily in the win column. So I have them under 6.5. I do like what they have done. Like I said, with Geno, Ashton Genty, and Brock Bowers, like there's an offense there. We'll see what's happening with Jacoby Myers. Also, I do think that a couple of the kids that they drafted and some of the young receivers that they have the ability to be some big play guys. Defensively, you obviously have a game wrecker in Max Crosby. But some of the solid guys they had at linebacker, Spillane, Diablo, those guys, gone. And I don't know if they replaced them effectively enough. And then the secondary is brutal. So yes, improvements have been made for the Raiders. Absolutely. And bringing in Pete Carroll and all of those guys to set a tone, set a culture, that's great. But I don't know how, aside from Max Crosby getting a sack on every play, I don't know how this team gets enough stops to get the other team off of the field to allow their offense to do their thing. So improvements are made. This is a foundation-setting year for the Raiders. Suterran, a Raider fan, but he's saying, I don't believe it. I'm a Raider fan too. I've watched every game this team has played for a long time. This is not a good secondary. There are just too many concerns there for me for this team, so I'm going under 6.5 for the Vegas Raiders this year. Now, let's get into the playoff picks. So, gone through all the totals there, and I guess one more time to recap on some of these. AFC North, we went Ravens over 11.5, Steelers under 8.5, Bengals under 9.5, and Cleveland under 4.5. In the South, Houston over 9.5, Jacksonville, we went under 7.5, Tennessee over 5.5, and Indy under 7.5. And then AFC West, we already ran through the East. Out West, it is Kansas City over 11.5, Denver over 9.5, Chargers under 9.5, and Raiders under 6.5. So now our playoffs are this. In the wild card round, I will say Buffalo as the 2 seed taking on the New York Jets. I have Kansas City as the 3 seed taking on the Chargers, still making the playoffs, even though we are under 9.5. I have them coming in as the 6 seed, and then it is Houston winning the AFC South. They get the 4 seed taking on Denver. From there, I have Denver beating Houston in the playoffs. They play Baltimore in the next round, and it would set up a Kansas City-Buffalo AFC divisional round game again. And I think it goes the same way again. I have Kansas City getting the victory there over Buffalo. Baltimore moving on. Baltimore against KC. This time, I think Baltimore figures it out. I have the Ravens going to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. We'll get to the NFC here in just a little bit. But I do want to remind you guys, if you missed any of it or just want to bring Couch Potato Diary with you wherever you go, you can catch it in podcast form, as the show is available on Spotify as well as on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. So if you're like Suterin in the Kick Chat and you are of the belief that I am going incredibly too fast, just get the podcast there and just play it on half speed. And all of a sudden, I sound like a normal person. So there you go. Just podcast available, like I said. Suterin in the chat has been absolutely going off. Bonix is good. I agree there. Chargers and Raiders, I have to check out. Too close. I don't think they're that close. I just think that the Chargers are a step above the Raiders at this particular time. My concerns are on the defensive side and in that secondary. And yeah, it is not a star-laden defense on the Chargers either, but I think there's a higher quality of player on the defensive side for the Chargers. That's why I have him there. Why I have them over the Raiders. He also said Chargers suck. Not sure why you have them there. Chiefs, a lot of bets to reduce and even miss the playoffs. I'm not buying a fall off for the Chiefs this year. I think they are going to be much better as a team going forward. And I think the offense really does kind of set itself up very effectively. So that was the AFC.